today through yesterday, the weather was oppressive, if, to say the least, and there were, I wanna say, torrential downpours and thunderstorms every day, and I was so looking forward to getting back to Michigan weather, and it was miserably humid and hot when I got back yesterday. And later today, as the president-elect of the Michigan Municipal Executives, I'm headed to Marquette for their summer workshop. I presented at NACO, I moderated 2 panels, and I'm also presenting at MME at the Marquette. The turnaround time is just a little too quick for me, but I am looking forward to the weather up there. I just gotta say. The one presentation that I did in Tampa was on, can you guess? Or do you already know? Come on, it's my favorite thing. Financial management and budget. And, the other person on the panel with me was one of the Hillsborough County, which is Tampa, commissioners. And the whole point of the discussion was to talk about, that process of budgeting and how to build trust between the elected body and how you have elected officials and department heads and the administration. And it went really well. I had sent in advance, we didn't have PowerPoint, it was just more of a panel, but I had sent, the coordinator, a young lady that works with NACO, the links to our budget snapshot, that 1-page document that you all take with you places, and then the packer. Hillsborough County also does a packer. There's a large difference between that organization and ours, where I think their annual budget's about $4 billion, and ours is 38 million. And there's a lot of people in that county, and the size of it is, significant geographically also. But I think the message that I hope everybody went away with is that our process or their process, and their process is also very different because of the sunshine laws in Florida. You all know what those are? They're related to transparency and just like FOIA all the time. Almost every meeting is open to the public. In some local governments, there are people from the community that come in every Monday and want copies of email traffic between, specific individuals every week. So, and not that our processes aren't transparent, but they just have to approach it very differently because of the resulting requests for documentation. So, you, I think, can be proud of the fact that many commissioners from across the country and other states, not necessarily Florida, but other states, came up after and commented on how much they appreciated the dialogue about how we manage the process and what we do, and the involvement that you have in the beginning, and then the follow-up at the end, and letting administration do their work in between. I related hey, we talked about setting my goals, which includes very specifically capital items that need to be budgeted for, and then also establishing those budget guidelines, and talking about the more work we do on the front end is very much like that value engineering that you do on a construction project, right? The more you do at the beginning, the less it costs you in the end, and the less work has to be done cleaning things up. So, and there were several commissioners there. There were 2 from Saginaw, also one from Clinton that came up and talked to me. Dwight, you may have met Dwight before, from Clinton County, and 2 of the Saginaw commissioners were there too. So, but everybody, I can't tell you the number of people that came up and wanted to take pictures and get the links to the budget snapshot and the packer. So those best practice things, I think, are, going to be useful for other people around the country. So it was good.
The community loves the budget snapshot.
Yeah, it's handy.
Midland County at a glance, and I love handing them out, and so they kind of expect it now.
Yeah, well, one of the commissioner from Wyoming got me after the meeting, and he said, now what's the population? I said, well, we're kind of small, 85,000. He says, you're like 3 times our size, but, comparing us to the Hillsborough County and a lot of other entities, I think, we're small. But he started asking me questions. He said, I love that budget snapshot, and he asked me a question, and I said, and I'd answer answer, and I said, but that's right here. And then he'd ask another question, well, how much of, it's not everyone has like special millages, right? So I talked about that process and how budgeting for that is a little different because all the money in there is earmarked for that program, so you can't move it around, it has to stay right there. We adjust millages as needed. Someone asked a question in the audience about how do you determine reserve balances, which was right up my alley. Oh, we have policy for that, and here's what we do. So he was asking a lot of questions, and I think 5 out of 6 times I said, we know that's right here on the budget tab. He said, I just love this. He picked it up. So it's information. The questions he was asking were things that his constituents are always asking. And he was in his mind trying to do a comparison, but it would have been so easy for him to have something like that in his back pocket at any time, or even a photo of it on his phone so he could refer to it. So, I think that it was, good messaging and sharing some tips that others will be able to use, so. But it was hot, like who picks Tampa in July for a conference? Anyway, someone who loves the humidity and high heat, I guess. Speaking of hot, and not liking it overly hot in this building, the chiller there's some I hope is fixed in this building and not going to need any more repair. We have about 191 inmates as of yesterday. So I sent you a picture of the rec area out at the Juvenile Justice Center. Kevin he just can't be more impressed with Comfort Construction and how well they match that brick. He said, you have to be looking at it very closely to know that that's a new wall. He said, and after about 6 months of weathering, you won't even know that that was a new wall. Did you happen to pay close attention if you looked at the pictures? The one where you see the basketball court, can you see the deer in the doorway?
Yeah.
It is accidental, but he didn't even move, or she didn't even move when Kevin was taking the photo. So, they did a nice job, and we wanna make sure that we highlight and, compliment the park vendors that we partner with on a regular basis, especially if they're doing great work. Census at Pinecrest is a little lower than normal, there's been a lot of, and actually just like the jail, summertime seems to be when we're moving people in and out a little bit more, and census is lower. There is a full-time medical assistant position available out at Pinecrest if you know anybody that you can send our way. Lots happening with, community corrections. Lots of training, pre-trial is just going gangbusters. Charlie, the new pre-trial, coordinator is really doing good. I had to laugh because Marissa shared a story about one of our people asked for furlough to go to a funeral, and so we let him out. Charlie let him out, gave him, and he cut his ankle monitor off and left it somewhere. And so Charlie knew right away, so he tracked down where it was in some dumpster over in Saginaw. And I don't know if they've tracked this guy down yet, but it's what he kind of likes to do because he's in charge of the absconder unit for the state. And so this is exactly what he used to do, trying to track people down. So he wasted no time in figuring out where that ankle monitor was, but I don't know how they get him off. I think you could probably just cut him off, but most people are afraid of doing that. This guy was not. So, we're getting our money's worth out of Charlie. Let's see. I mentioned several times the grant that we got with, from the Community Foundation in collaboration with GMCA for some of our probationers to be taking classes and learning a skill at the trade school. That is, eventually gonna run out of money, so I know Marissa is working, and Stephanie are trying to work with some various groups in Lansing, trying to get some funding for that on a regular basis. Part of the problem is that although there's this gap in the trades, there are limitations if someone has a felony on their record where they can work. You can't work inside the fence line at Dow, and a lot of our which is, I think, one of the benefits of the expungement, process that's been happening. I don't know if it'll impact that or not, but, you know, I think that any funding that they can get to help give people skills, where they feel valued and feel like they're able to contribute and be a contributing member of the community and also can earn a living wage, helps prevent those future crimes, right, because then they're not in crisis. So, hoping that they have some luck with that. Let's see, emergency management, we did have a tabletop with that council, last month. That went pretty well. Finance and budget, Tiffany is back to work, hallelujah. Thank you. I will say that the audit was completed and submitted on time. The staff in the finance department, all, without exception, ended up doing extra work. Because of my schedule and Tiffany being on maternity leave and Tom Smith, our contractor who mainly works on grants, had agreed to help fill in and do some of the more day-to-day busy work, including journal entries and payables and payroll, so that the staff wouldn't have to wait on me anymore. He was
Okay,
around,
thank you.
and he helped with all of the extra documentation and writing specific things for the audit that Tiffany would normally do, with a little help from me, and I don't know if we would have had it done on time if it hadn't been for him doing that, so I really am grateful. And Lori has done a fantastic job with all the extra journal entries and work, so, kudos to everybody up there. Health department, we are seeing, if you haven't been outside and noticed an increase in ticks this year, I don't know what it's from. Carl has had people calling, they actually they keep track of the number of ticks that show up on their field staff when they come back, and it's 10 times or more what it was when they first started noticing it. The health department is, you know, doing its best to make sure that they get information out there on what to do. And there are some safety tips that people can remember, just, you know, it's hard, especially in this kind of heat, but don't be walking around out in the woods in shorts. And pay attention to your animals too. Colonel had mentioned that he hasn't noticed any actual ticks on his dog, but the vet did blood work and the dog had been, had residual, Lyme infestation and Lyme, markers in its blood from tick bites. So you do have to be careful. Let's see, IT. That's pretty much business as usual. Managed to sign council. Peter Durant's, did leave and he accepted position in Midland County as a public defender, so I know he's got a lot more on his plate. With felony cases, because we're now limited with the number of attorneys we have that can try felony cases, so he's got a lot more there. The drone was actually used to treat 15 acres of Sanford Lake, lake bed for mosquito control. That, I asked Carl, like, how long did that take? He said less than a day, because there were 4 different locations where they had to stop, treat, get back in the vehicles, go stop and treat. For that amount of acres, if it was in one spot, he figured it'd be less than an hour and a half. I mean, it's very efficient having that drone. And the lake bed is very uneven, right? We discourage people from being down there quite a bit, and the last thing we need is our seasonal staff hurting themselves if they can avoid being down there. But we have to treat it. So this is a really great example of the use of the drone technology. Let's see. Fair's coming up, for 4-H, coming up in August. Parks and Rec, lots of work on the rail trail and, grounds maintenance. As you know, we had an impeller fail for the splash park right before the 4th of July, which was not great timing, but these guys really turned it around and had back up and running at the 11th, which was great. And that thing's less than a year old, so it was under warranty. I didn't attend the Sanford Lake
It's next Wednesday.
This Wednesday, thank you.
Next Wednesday, the
Okay,
24th.
24th, yeah, okay. So we are gonna get, that information out on social too. Patrick's working with Digital American to make sure that we get the information out, in public so people are aware. Veterans Affairs things are going very well. We have started, Bruce is continuing to pilot being up in Coleman, at the American Legion 1 day a week. Right now, I mean, I think they've only had one person come in so far, so they're just gonna kind of keep an eye on it, may take it down to 1 day a month. And then we'll adjust as necessary, right? If there seems to be an increase in need or, people ask, well, I thought they were gonna be here this week, and we'll adjust accordingly. But I think that's just one more example of how we can meet people where they're at. And if, for those of you who may not have heard, last Thursday, Doc Wagner, our former medical examiner, passed away. So, funeral visitation is this Thursday and funeral is Friday. His health had deteriorated significantly. He had been moved to a facility in Grand Rapids. That's it for me.
Any questions? Thank you, Bridget.
We're happy sunny day, been raining at night, and happy to have the sun out today. A couple of things that are, that have been going on, continue to go on in the area of Pinecrest Donor Trust. We continue to negotiate between the DHS, the Attorney General's office, and the county and the court to come up with a more definitive operation of the Pinecrest Donor Trust, which, as you know, has been around for decades. And it's been a loosely organized and not very well defined organization. And we're trying to make that so it's better defined and the parties' roles and responsibilities are more clearly defined. Normally it would be, at least the future would probably include the county making a recommendation to the Pinecrest board for approval of an expenditure, and then the treasurer being instructed to effect the expenditure and also to manage the funds which constitute the body of the trust. And hopefully that all the parties can agree and that can be done yet this month, if not next month. I think it will be completed. Bridget, I think, and Tiffany have both been involved in the review of that to make sure that it makes sense from an operational perspective. So that's happening. I've been involved with some ballot language drafting from Mosquitoes and County Connection. But the more important matters that have occurred since our last meeting are three. And I'll go in reverse order of importance. First is the long-suffering Couch versus Denton file, where the Four Lakes Task Force has picked up the defense. It was finally decided in the Michigan Court of Appeals favorably to us, and so the county is no longer got an interest in that particular squabble, which is between neighbors, but it has lasted for years, and finally being resolved in the Court of Appeals. That's good news. The second piece of good news is that the Huron Cove case was decided favorably by Judge Beal, and without more than the commencement of the special assessments is possible. However, the Huron Cove folks have, at least as I understand it, effected an appeal of that order and that decision, which will delay final action on that until such time as the appeal is completed, and that appeal can be initiated at the Michigan Court of Appeals and can subsequently go as far as the Michigan Supreme Court. The Huron Cove folks also filed an inverse condemnation action, which has been successfully removed to federal district court by our counsel, and I think federal district court tends to see these actions more often and is attuned to dealing with veracity of the lawsuit itself. Essentially, that is good news at this point, but there's more to come. And the last piece of good news is that the case of Bruno versus Midland County, which was the class action consisting of many, many people claiming damages from the actions of the county regarding the spring 2020 dam failure, was decided by the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. And the decision granting summary disposition in favor of the counties was approved and affirmed by the Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit in Cincinnati. And they did so on a factual basis, amongst others. The factual basis being that there was no action that the county took, which resulted in the dam failure. The dam failure occurred as a result of static liquefaction, which is essentially water pressure on the dirt, causing it to become a liquid, and thereby allowing it to flow through in the dirt. The dam, if you will, the earthen dam failed. That decision can only be reversed by the United States Supreme Court, unless there is a motion for reconsideration, which I'm not aware of. And it's very unlikely that the United States Supreme Court will take the claim, a writ of certiorari, claim for appeal, and accept it. So, for the most part, at this time, I think that the Bruno case is finished. Not finally, but pretty close, pretty darn close to being finished. And that was the case that had the potential for serious liability, serious dollar liability against the county, should it have been favorably determined by the claims, or for the claims. So that was extremely good news. That's been pending for several years, and maybe the beginning of the end of the litigation, which was grew up like weeds after the dam failure. So I'm very happy about that, and I expressed that to Bridget, and I think she's happy too. And it's good news for the county, and it's a relief. Other than that, I think you have the rest of my report. We do have dealing with a couple of issues, another case regarding the dam, but that's going to be yet to be determined. And other than that, things have been pretty much going forward as normal. I had a lot of thoughts in the middle of the night over Bruno, and no longer have to have those, so that's good.
We're glad for that.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess it's time for commissioner updates on boards and commissioners. Commissioner Terwilliger.
A couple of things that I will make note of. On June 18th, several of us attended the Midland County Mosquito Control for their open house, and it was about 2 hours that we were there, and we really learned a lot about mosquitoes. And I remember originally taking the tour when I was first coming on several years ago as a commissioner, and I really liked everything, especially probably with the exception of the big pile of mosquitoes that Doug, when he has under a microscope. I'm not a real big fan of bugs. So, but anyways, it was very, very detailed, very well done, and I appreciate that. In addition to that, on June 20th, there was a school resource officer. It was actually, the training was sponsored by the SRO's tabletop exercise, and that was held in Coleman, and very well done. I just was as an observer, and there were all of the entities that were at the table at the training, from a perspective of fire and safety and deputies and Midland County police, and actually the city that was there as well. And it was very well done. I was glad to have attended. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Good. Chrysler.
Michigan Works, did not, or was not able to get the final, passage of the, changing the, control from Saginaw to, Isabella County. And so it'll probably be another month or two to get enough of the members to the meeting to get the vote. The people have to be there in person. They cannot vote vacant, so it's still up in the air.
So you've not had a quorum before a meeting.
Well, we haven't had the right number. We were short one person.
Commissioner Dorian,
None to report, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Smith.
Thank you. As Gay said, we did tour the mosquito control and had that open house there. That was super interesting. I never knew there was so much to know about mosquitoes. I've been attending city council, nothing super exciting, there. I was able to attend on July 10th, the Parks and Recs annual, picnic and their monthly meeting. I was able to fill in for, I believe you and Jeanette, were able to make it. That was super interesting and delicious. You all missed out on a good spread. So it was just interesting to see how much, the work that they're doing, because I haven't been able to go to one of those meetings yet, and how expensive different things are. And then yesterday, I went up to Roscommon for the Northern Michigan Counties Association meeting, and I will say, I think it was the best meeting in almost 2 years that I've had up there. They had, normally we have a presentation, and we all just kind of sit and listen, and this time, the people that present, no one was able to come, and so it was just open discussion, with all the counties present, and it was, we talked about county housing and, building affordable housing, and then we talked about, different county jails and different, cost-saving measures, ideas that some people had, and how that would go over in their county, and just kind of how our jails are doing and how they're funded. And then we talked about 4-year terms and kind of our feelings on that, and how you appoint someone if someone resigns during the 4 years. And anyway, it was like a 2.5-hour long discussion with like 15 counties participating, just like a round table, and it was probably the best, I gained so much from that meeting. And was texting Bridget and Jessica the whole time and saying like, how many federal people do we have in the jail? What's our budget on this? And they were able to answer that.
No, let's be clear. I was on a plane. Jessica was inside. And I had Wi-Fi, but I could not get to my budget, so appreciate Jessica answering.
Jessica was amazing, and I think we are probably the biggest county population-wise in the Northern Michigan Counties Association. And so I kind of blew their mind a little bit when we were going around, and people are like, oh, our jail has about 17 people, and our jail has 21, and I was like, oh, we have over 200, and they're like, what? And so, and I was like, well, and I let them know that some are federal and stuff, and so it's it's really interesting to hear about the different ways different counties accomplish those goals, so. That's all I got. Thank you.
Commissioner Snyder.
Yes, so I like to take some vacation in July, so I appreciate you filling in for me, and that is like the best meeting. It's hard to miss, but that was my daughter's 21st birthday, so decision to be made. So I'm really glad you were able to enjoy it. I'll pick your brain later. So on that with parks, I did go to the 4th of July fireworks. Of course, that's not a work meeting, but it was just amazing. And now that they have the village village park open, like, the community was able to spread out, we were playing basketball and games and running around on the green while you're waiting for the fireworks to start, and I wish you could just see it, but it was just a community having fun before the fireworks started, and so that's wonderful that the village park is finished and that it was opened up for that event, and people took advantage of it, and it was a good night. We did do that tour for the mosquito control, and I do always enjoy going there. I learned a few things. The mosquito control, they carry tick removers on their keychains, and they can just be ordered through Amazon. So right after that meeting, I ordered one for all my family members, because we're in the woods quite a bit.
They work pretty well.
They work great, and you just run them down walls. I was so impressed with the drone and the lake bottom information. I sit on the lake improvement boards, and we've been putting, mowing in place, and some of that is controversial, right? The people want to see us doing something, but are we getting the most bang for our buck when we're mowing? And we still need to know things with fill permits and e-bill. There's so much there, but having gone to the mosquito control, they said that by doing the mowing keeps the mosquitoes down, the mosquito control is able to see where they're going, and so that was good for me to see that there's multiple benefits in what we're doing and keeping that communication open amongst different departments. I think communication is so important when we're making these decisions. Sometimes we're just making them in our own department, but they affect other departments, and so that was encouraging for me to hear. So with that, Wixom Lake Wixom Lake Board has decided to collaborate with Wixom Lake Association to do some mowing and be in charge of that and take some of the burden off the board, but the board is going to be approving everything that the association is doing for them. Also, Paul Hausler, he is our scientist and expert that we hire, that the Wixom Lake Board hires, and he's going to do a drone project to get a good updated pictures and topographic of the lake now and where it stands. So, good meetings there. We've been meeting regularly now, the lake boards, and that's been good to hopefully get them ready to be filled back up. I did go to a 100-year celebration for the Tomlinson Barn. That is next to the Pinecrest property that was sold, and his nickname is Tommy, and he looks great. And there are plant sales going on there, and it's they have trails there, and the community has been using that, and that has been a good thing as well. The roads, business as usual. They have been very busy though, and one thing to note with them is they've been doing some of the bridges in-house. They have the expertise, and so they've been able to do bridges perhaps more a little in-house versus contracting them out. So kudos to the team there and the creativity of John and his team there. That's all I have, thanks.
Okay. And then I also attended the mosquito control open house, very informative. A lot of people that have certainly appeared to be enjoying their work. So I appreciate that they're out there enjoying it and doing it for us, so in our behalf.
Because it's not easy work.
Yeah.
It's hard work.
There's so much that goes into it, and they really like their work.
Yeah, and it's not for everybody, right?
Yep. And I've had questions about the difference between the new spray dispersal units, the electric versus the gasoline powered. Carl has answered that in saying that by and large, they're dispersing the mosquito side, killer at the same rate. It seems to be working. The thing about the new electrically controlled is that they can operate their trucks faster. With the older units, they can only go like 10 miles an hour. With the new units and a variable feed to their dispersal units, they can go all the way up to 20 miles an hour, which means that they can cover more ground period of time so that more people are getting mosquito control coverage. So, the only thing is, we don't hear them coming with the big whine, maybe we need a noisemaker, so, let people know they're coming. I attended, the SUD Oversight Policy Board in Lansing on, the 26th. Things are going pretty quietly there. We did have a training of a new, board member, an alternate delegate, so it was, very helpful, to start getting the alternates there so that we can ensure that we have a quorum for the meetings, and that's been a good thing. Moving along. Attended Lee Township on the 8th, Greendale Township on the 9th. Things are going in good order, I guess, in both townships. Lee Township does have a new township supervisor. That Jim Levere resigned.
That's Greendale.
Greendale, I'm sorry.
I'm like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah,
What happened to Doug?
yeah, so Greendale was on the 9th, and so things appear to be going well there. Community mental health, finance, and their board committee on the 23rd, and Mid-Michigan Community Action Agency on Thursday, the 26th. They are searching for a new finance director. So they have a staff member that previously served in that position who's doing double duty now while they're conducting that search. I guess that's all I have to report. Dory?
No comment at this time.
No comments. Great, Commissioner Smith?
I would just like to, just send my condolences for the family of, Doc Wagner that he passed. I didn't really work with him much, but it seems like he was respected by a lot of people and gave a lot to our community. Thank you.
Commissioner Snyder?
I just wanna thank Bridget for representing Midland so well, and going to Florida and speaking. You do that so well, and I'm greatly appreciative of you and, doing that for us. And I'm also, I know you thank the finance team, and I'm also highly appreciative of the finance team, but I know that puts a lot of work on you as well, so thank you for filling in all the gaps. And of course, kudos to our finance team, and welcome back, Tiffany, we're so glad you're back.
No one as much as me.
That is all.
Commissioner Terwilliger?
Yes, that was, I would echo all of those comments. Bridget, I'm really glad that you were able to attend the conferences and represent us so well, and I'm extremely glad that you're back, Tiffany, and, we're glad to see you, and everybody on the 3rd floor is glad to see you, and Bridget's really glad to see you, so, we're all happy about that. And, that last photo that you just posted, so cute, her baby, so cute. That's all I have.
Commissioner Geisler?
Yes, to back up a little bit, the mosquito control, that it was kind of fun to see them operate, how they did it. The other thing though, is that they are working now more with ticks. Ticks are on the rise in Michigan, and they are getting involved with controlling them in some way. I thought that was very interesting that they're now, mosquito control is in the ticks.
I guess, I have no additional comments to make, at that point, let's see. Is there any other business to come before the committee? Seeing none,
Motion to adjourn.
Support. Support. And I guess we are adjourned. This meeting is adjourned until Tuesday, July 16th, 2024 at